Good evening, friends. And namaste. Some weeks ago, we had taken a look at this topic, though it was exactly not the same. A topic that we deliberated upon was empty heart. Some of you may remember the focus at that time was upon how one doesn't keep any hurt in one's heart. One empties one's heart of any revenge, any ambition, and a whole lot of things born of memory of conditioning. That was about empty heart. A metaphor was given of a cracked pot. You try to fill that pot with water. Due to the crack in the pot, nothing stays in the pot. Everything flows away. This evening, however, we are approaching the matter from a different angle of view. And first of all, this is not about empty heart, it's about emptiness and its significance in the world filled with things. Take the expression filled with things with a grain of salt. For everyone would be wondering now, filled with things means what? Filled with what kind of things? I believe the author of the famous classic novel, A Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens, begins that novel with a statement. Those were the best of the times, those were the worst of the times. I have not read the novel at all, but I have verified that that kind of apparently self-contradictory statement, those were the best of the times, those were the worst of the times, is the beginning of that English classic, A Tale of Two Cities. This world is something like that. It's filled with things, but it is empty also. Is the world a solid reality, or is it a void? VOID. Nature of the universe as a void is especially highlighted in most of the Buddhist schools of thought. But without going to much philosophy, you and I can quickly appreciate a certain observation that seers have made, that this world really has nothing in it. Depending on our conditioning at given time, or let me say at different times in our lives, we in fact meet with the different worlds. The world of a child is different from the world of an adult, which again is different from the world of a middle-aged person, and so on. When you and I go to big cities like Mumbai or Bangalore, Delhi or Kolkata, during certain years, we see one kind of city. During certain others, we see another kind of the same city. It is as though in one city there are hundreds of cities. I may look too philosophical, bear with me. What I mean is the city of the slum dwellers, the Kolkata of slum dwellers is different from the Kolkata of the party animals. The party animals is the expression used to tell children of rich people whose day begins at night 2 a.m. In Mumbai, there are a lot of youngsters who wake up at 12, dress up, and 2 a.m. they go to various parties. The city of the politicians, the city of the underworld is again different. But which is the real city? And we come back to the question, is this universe real? I beg of you to bear with me a little more, being a little philosophical. I wish to combine a little physics also here. Atoms are the building blocks of everything, solids, liquids, and gases. And the atoms which make, let us say, a solid object like this, something I'm holding in my hand. This is so solid. I press it and say, oh, hard. It's made of atoms. But have we all not read basic physics where it is said an atom consists of a nucleus and a number of electrons move around the nucleus at high speed in several orbits. Now, without making it a long explanation, for most of us have forgotten also the physics that we had studied once upon a time. In an atom, if you were to add up the volume occupied by the electrons and then add up even the volume occupied by the nucleus, it's actually less than even 1% of the total volume occupied by the atom. That means 99% of an atom is empty. Therefore, the hills, the objects, the people, the oceans, all of them made of atoms are more than 99% empty. Therefore, in Buddhism, once more, there are meditations on nothingness, meditations on emptiness. In Hinduism, there are a number of gods. You meditate on Shiva, Vishnu. In Buddhism and in Jainism too, all of you may know, there is no God at all. No God. I have studied a little of the schools of thought in this country. There are 6 theistic schools, Astika Darshanas. Then there are a few atheistic darshanas, Nastika darshanas. Buddhism and Jainism belong to Nastika darshanas. And interestingly, they are called Nastika Nastika twice. You know why? It's of interest to note that they neither have God, Buddhism and Jainism, nor do they accept the Vedas. And in this country of ours, from ancient times, the Vedas have been regarded with certain special status. Buddhism and Jainism say, we have nothing to do with the Vedas, we do not believe in God. So, double negation, Nastika, Nastika. We are not here to compare religions, nor are we here to decide which is the best and which is the worst, etc. We come back to the topic. If there is neither God nor any authority, are we talking about emptiness? Now, why should we worry so much about the universe, whether it really exists? If it does, whether 99% of it is hollow, mere space, empty space, and only 1% is something which we may call, you know, physically existing. Let's look at our psychological life. There also you and I would come across a whole lot of emptiness if only we inquire. It was in the mid 90s that I had tried to understand Krishnamurti for probably the 20th time and failed. I failed in understanding, making head or tail of Krishnamurti, even in something like 94 or 95. I was almost 40 years old. But no, I didn't understand. I could not appreciate. My mind was rebelling, reacting, and defending some, traditional concepts. And for a brief period, it was certain works of Vimala Thakar, the lady who had been deeply touched by Krishnamurti in her own personal life. And I'm not here to quote much from anybody, but in one of her works, she talks about image free consciousness. That hit a nail at the right spot in me. I said, wow, my consciousness admittedly is filled with images. You mentioned Sushil Kumar Jain. I have very fixed images about him. What kind of man he is, how humorous, and other things too. About anybody, any lady, any man, about people of 1,000 years ago, I have images. But leave aside those people. About people with whom you and I interact on a daily basis, it's next to impossible for us to be free of images. We put labels. This is a bad man. That's a dangerous lady. Keep away from him. Keep a distance from her, etc. We tell ourselves. Alas, these are all the play of images on the basis of a certain episode, certain incident. We come to form an image of other people, right? And Vimalaji, in her book, uh, Self Education, Intensive Self Education, that had at that time made a great impact on me. Interestingly, that sort of made made me or helped me take another look at Krishnamurti, and that was it. Then I have not looked back. Somewhere in mid 90s, 96 or so, Krishnamurti started making sense to me. And then I found that my Upanishads and so many things were all coming out with certain greater significance. I could see greater depth, especially as I was fairly familiar with Ramana Maharshi, but I had hit a blank wall in Ramana Maharshi's teachings too. I sort of couldn't proceed. I had met with a dead end in my intellectual understanding, and that also vanished. It was as though many obstacles, many barriers, many hurdles were lifted thanks to the insights of Krishnamurti. So, image free consciousness, and I would like to connect that with this evening's topic, emptiness. If we are able to inquire and see how the images that we have of Sita or Gita, Tom, Dick, or Harry are mere reactions and responses of memory. Really speaking, we have no business to hold on to any particular image. Really speaking, we need to be open, see things as they are at this moment, see things, see people, see places, and see ourselves also with totally fresh eyes. And what would it mean? We empty our consciousness of long held concepts, images, etc. Psychologically, also, therefore, like it happened with the atom of physics, 99% goes out of the window, and 1% only of those electrons and the nucleus remains. Here, too, 99% of the content of our consciousness is images that we have laboriously collected and painstakingly borne the weight of them. What an unburdening it could be, what a relaxation it can be if we let go of those images. Day in and day out, the overwhelming majority of humanity, of whom we are very much a part, feel stress, feel so much of pressure in their daily life. It's interesting that this word emptiness, which looks like a very negative word to many people, in fact, Vedanta, Buddhism, Jainism, Krishnamurti, etc., are, in their immaturity, criticized by many people as so dry, just negating, just a certain Vedanta scholar long back had said, Krishnamurti, a bundle of negations. I was very surprised why he said that. And then slowly my understanding, let me share with you. This Vedanta scholar who was otherwise very good, he is no more now, but he has a large following in the country. He was very attached to certain concepts. He took pleasure in Sanskrit language. He delighted in similes and metaphors. He took great joy. He experienced joy in stories and parables. And, you know, when one has these attachments to symbols and stories and parables and similes and metaphors and Sanskrit poetry or prose to grammar and logic and so on, when there is that attachment, the high plateau of negating whatever is not real comes across as rather dry. But one must take a fresh look. Is negation really a dry affair, or is negation a great cleansing process? When we say, can we reflect on image free consciousness, we are in no way dismissing genuine human bonds. We are not saying to a husband, do not love your wife anymore. Your love is in the domain of illusion. We don't say that. We ask the husband to examine his attachment. In other words, the image free consciousness is not literally a void. It is in image free consciousness that the purest form of love is possible. The moment we cling to particular images, how can we love at all? I must share with you how, in those years when I had very much difficulty in appreciating Krishnamurti, I read a sentence in one of his books, I don't know which one, where he said, a man cannot be ambitious at work and at the same time love his wife at home. I said, what is the connection under the sun between being ambitious at work and loving his wife at home? Oops, I just closed the book and looked at the ceiling. But when certain insight dawns upon you and me, we see that beautiful connection. Ambition is the strengthening reinforcement of the self, I, me, and my. And true love requires that we be able to put aside the self. The man who is ambitious cannot change the gear the moment he comes home. Unfortunately, in this world, loving wife or loving one's daughter or son or whoever, is all connected to some grosser expressions, some physical gifts, some nice expressions. Honey, I love you. You are the world to me, and so on. If some such expressions are made, it is considered, look how much she loves him, how much he loves her, and so on. People do not have the patience to scratch the surface and go deeper. True love is neither giving the best gift or the most expensive gift, nor is it not giving the gift. Giving the gift or not giving the gift, making a beautiful statement like I love you, or not making such a statement have nothing to do with the essence of love. In other words, the essential love can go with expressions or absence of expressions. We can go on reflecting on this emptiness. I will add one more dimension and pause. This hopefully makes some more clarification. When we say it is in emptiness, it is in seeing the emptiness outside, seeing the emptiness inside, that love is possible. Many people may wonder, how can love be when all you see is emptiness? Because the world is full of such literature. We are told, see the good in the other man, shut your eyes to the bad in him. Begin to see all kinds of such moralizing statements. So let me clarify. When we appreciate or when we see the falsity of images, falsity of judgments, then you see what happens is we see absence of a problem. When I was holding on to an image of somebody and that image was continuing to hurt me, I rebel, I react, I also roll up my sleeves and think of settling score with him or her, right? When I see that I'm holding on to an image and that image has lost its validity because it's based on something that happened maybe 2 years ago or 20 years ago. So, on solid scientific grounds, I see that my dislike towards a certain person has no basis. Then, what was a problem till a moment ago becomes no problem. Absence of a problem makes way, paves the way for discovery of love. Whereas so much of suffering, so much of stress, so much of mental exhaustion in this world is because people look at many things as a problem. This person is a problem, that place is a problem, that organization is a problem, and so on, because they are unable to inquire and take away the mischievous work of images, crystallized images that have as though precipitated in darkness. When there is no light, certain images gain strength. So, friends, this emptiness about the so called vast universe, this emptiness about people around us, this emptiness about our own existence is summarily put is the negation of whatever is put together by thought. Thought rules this roost. Thought is controlling. Thought is making the world very heavy. We feel this world is heavy. Whereas if the psychological thought were to be through inquiry, not by deciding, if this psychological thought were to make an exit, there is, I guess, great peace. Let me pause here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chidanandji. Harshad Parekh sir, will you please open the mic and say something? Harshad Parekh sir.
Are you able to hear my voice?
Yeah, we are able to hear.
Thank you, Swamiji. I like this meaning you give to the word emptiness. And for you, the meaning is emptiness means having no image and the mind is free and there is no sense of I or me. And it is a quality of real love, which is not attachment. So, but when I try to look at one song on emptiness, and in that it was given completely opposite meaning. Emptiness means the person was very lonely, isolated, not searching for something, having no direction, and that is the how that person understood the word emptiness. Okay, we first look at emptiness as a space, the space and the things as matter, and the matter exists in the background of space. Like if you look at the chair, which is a matter, and around the chair there is a space, which we may call it empty, but actually that space is not empty, because here on earth, in the space, there is air, and even in vacuum, there are many electromagnetic waves exist in empty space, even in vacuum. And similarly, in matter also exists space, as Swamiji explained, that within the atom of the chair, there is a lot of space. So 99% of the chair or a furniture is space, and only 1% is matter. So matter and space, they go together. We cannot have matter without space and space without matter. And in the universe, there are 100 billion galaxies, and in each galaxy, there are 100 billion stars. So there are about 10 to the power 22 stars, and our sun is only one star among billions of stars. And then our earth is a very, very tiny space, tiny matter in space, and it is revolving around in the space. And so matter and space, they go together. And now we come to the inner world. There is an outer world. And when we look at on the earth also, earth is full of things, like there's birds and animals and trees, insects. They are all matter. Our human beings, our body is matter. And there is a lot of space around mountains and rivers. So matter and space also exist on our earth. And we look at the shops which are nowadays in the market. They are filled with things. They are selling all kinds of things, firecrackers or furniture, and people are going to the market, and the market is full of people buying things. So things are very important for our daily living. Mm, And but when we fill our house with so many things, then there is very little space, and then there is no beauty. So to have a beauty, a space is required within the house, and not fill up with furniture and so many material things. And this is about the outside universe, outside things. Similarly, um, when there is a space within our mind, and our mind is generally full of thoughts and feelings, and they can be called like matter in the inner world. And then when there are no thoughts and feelings, and there is a awareness, that can be called as a space. So this space, inner space in our mind, is also very, very important. And thoughts and feelings are also important. But when there is only lot of thinking and feeling, and no space, no discontinuity in this thinking, feeling, then life becomes very mechanical, and it loses a real beauty. So through meditation or to some other way, if we can have a space within our mind, then we can also deal with thoughts and feelings as they arise, and then they don't create problems in our relationship. But without this emptiness or inner space or silence or awareness or intelligence or insight or so many words we are using, but it means this space. In that space, in that awareness, thinking and feeling, they can flow um, effortlessly and creatively without creating problems of conflict, jealousy, anger, loneliness, fear, and so on. So, thinking and feeling is not a problem, I feel, but when there is only continuity in thinking and feeling, then it is like a space filled with matter only. And so in that, there is no real love and beauty, because this sense of beauty comes when our mind is very, very alert, silent, awake, and not many thoughts are going on. I would consider that even the images which we can create is not a problem. Like when I try to create an image of Buddha, that image, it lasts only for maybe 1 or 2 seconds and then follows just a looking in which there is no image. So uh, images create problem when they come and they are not observed. And the image is like having some prejudice about some people based on our experience. And when we get hurt by somebody, and then we have image about that person, and that image prevents us to go and talk with that person. So in that sense, images prevents relationship. But images which are created out of alertness, such images fades very quickly, and then there is just observing of the space or silence. So these are some of the things which I like to say, that matter exists in the background of space, and thoughts and feelings, when they exist in the background of awareness or intelligence, then there are no problems. But without awareness, thoughts and feelings are like furniture filled in a house, and there is no space to move. So very important, much more important to have a space within the mind. And then we can also have our rooms, our house, also have a lot of space, and we don't get so much attached to the furniture and to the things which we have. And then we can have beauty in our house and in our inner world also. So I have said enough things. Thank you very much. Yes, Sushik now. Hello, Kamleshji.
Hareshwar Singh. Hareshwar Singh wanted to comment. You can start.
Yeah, okay. Namaste to Swamiji. I am able to attend his talk after a long time. Yeah, he is still there. Okay. My question arises from an anecdote, and I hope I am permitted to just take a minute or something. In the year 1974, I went to see Devraha Baba, a very famous mystic in those days. He was still at Lar Road near Devariya. And when I was granted, I mean, when he turned to me from his scaffold up, then I said, I was surprised that you hardly travel, but you went all the way to Rishikesh to inaugurate the first ashram of Maharshi Mahesh Yogi at on the banks of the Ganga. He said, yes, tum kya puchna chahte? What do you want to ask me? I said, but Krishnamurti says that he is the owner of a multi-million dollar industry. It has nothing to do with his transcendental meditation, has nothing to do with meditation. So do you still approve of the person? So first he looked cross. He said, tum mujhse bahas karne aaye ho bachcha? Have you come to argue with me? But then he softened. He said, then I asked, so do you think that he is the right person? He said, yes, everybody is the right person. And I love everyone, including you. And he said one thing, that look, my problem is that when I see at any human being, I see myself, not imagination. I see myself. How can I not love myself? So my question is simple. As Swamiji said, that when in that state of image-free consciousness, love is natural, whether it is love between wife and husband or between two friends. So is it because there is no image, no self, or is it because somehow one begins to see oneself in the other?
Swamiji. Swamiji, do you want to answer?
I can try. The last part summarized Hareshwar's question. Do we love because we see ourselves in others? Right. And what was the other option you said? Do we love because they are?
No self.
What happened?
No self. He said,
Yeah. What did he say?
no
His
self,
mic is.
that is love, or we see ourselves in others.
To say we see ourselves in them is one way of putting it. I would prefer the expression, we do not see a barrier between them and us. To see we see ourselves in them is a more poetic way of putting it. The other person is not really us. We are we and they are they. But normally, various barriers come in the way. So the barriers vanish. So I would say love happens when there is a certain silence. Silence in our looking at the other person. So if Devra Baba said he loves you when you met him in 1974, even as you showed up before him, we can visualize he didn't look at you as somebody having come to question him, nor did he look at you as somebody who came to show more respect to him. He was not in need of any respect. So I would imagine that he's saying, I love you too, was born of a certain silence. In silence, we can love a lot of people. When we have a noisy mind, we cannot love people. That's what comes to me. I'm done.
Shakti ji. Shakti sir.
आवाज आ रही है मेरी? आवाज
Yes,
पहुंच रही?
you are clear. Yes, your voice is coming.
Yes. ये जो स्वामी जी आपने शून्यता की बात की, एम्प्टीनेस जो बुद्धिज्म में है, जैनिज्म में है, मेरा तो इन चीजों का एक लेमैन की तरह बहुत सीमित अध्ययन हो जाता है, लेकिन वो और अंदर से अंदर बहुत श्रद्धा इत्यादि नहीं है, लेकिन जो एक्सियोलॉजी है, रहता भी जिंदगी में किस तरह से बर्ताव करना है, क्या किया जा सकता है लाइफ में पर बदलाव लाने के लिए, तो उसमें मदद मिलती है सभी जगहों से, बुद्धिज्म में भी और उपनिषदों में भी और सब जगह। मेरे मन में एक प्रश्न था कि ये जो जब मैं गोस्वामी तुलसीदास जी को पढ़ रहा था, उसमें एक शिव जी की प्रार्थना है, चिदाकाश महाकाश वासम भजे। तो ये जो चिदाकाश की परिकल्पना है, और इसका कुछ जो बुद्धिज्म में जो शून्यता की बात होती है और जो कृष्णमूर्ति नथिंगनेस की बात होती है, इसमें इसका कुछ तारतम्य लगता है आपको? क्योंकि मैंने बहुत हल्का फुल्का पढ़ा, इसलिए मैं जानना चाहता। थैंक यू सर।
Swami,
I think I will not comment on that. May somebody else say something?
Dinesh Waghmare.
Yeah, actually, I want to express my views, what Swamiji has said and others have said. There are many aspects, but many things are to be spoken. First of all, Shaktiji's question. We are talking of Jainism and Buddhism. You also go through the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There is no mention of any God. So these two are similar to, if you go into deep, if you go deep into the Jainism, you go deep into the Buddhism, you will find that they are similar to Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So these are basically the methods by which a person can reunite with the power behind all these things. So in Hinduism also, there is a basically Saguna Upasana is just the starting point, and you have to go to the Nirguna Upasana. So that Nirguna Upasana is similar to this your whatever you say in Buddhism or emptiness or this. Similarly, one thing has to be understood. In what my understanding is, I am just sharing. Maybe I am I don't know how much I am correct or not. You confirm to it. JK also said that there is one thing is noise. Then there is no noise. In no noise also space is there. But whosoever is having the cognizance of both of noise and no noise is the thing which is the real silence. So this real silence, in Hinduism also they say Shunya, world, Shunya and Mahashunya. Three things they refer. So Mahashunya is the thing which is behind this. Even in the case of thoughts also we have observed. Okay, leave aside I, leave aside thoughts. Who is empowering thoughts? What is the energy behind this? That we have to see. Similarly, if you go through it, then that energy directly we can't experience, but we can experience the effects of it. The thought is its effect. So what is the behind all this thing? That we have to see. Similarly, there is an interesting point which Swamiji has said about the image. What is this image actually? If you go, let us go deep into it. It is similar to what business, if suppose I am a businessman, I am doing a business with somebody, then I have to keep a file of it. That file gives, it's a record of my last transaction with that person as well as the earlier transaction. And it is very, we know what is the importance of that record. Suppose I lose that record, then I will not be having any reference. So similarly, when I say image of somebody, so in that image, not only that another person is involved, but I am also involved. What he has told to me, what was my feeling about him, what whether I got hurt or not, or whatever the feelings I have generated, all the things, how he has behaved with me, all record is there. So that is to be there, and it's a normal function of mind, which mind makes for the normal transaction of persons. So can we get rid of this image? Yes, there can be freedom from the image, but can we get rid of this image? That's $1 million question, because this is a normal function of mind. If I don't have any image, means now we are talking of image as a transaction with that person. Suppose I am seeing now Hareshwar Singh. So I have got an image of it. Similarly, what he has talked last time, that also is there. What was my transaction? How he has behaved with me? I have behaved with him. All those record is there. So suppose next time I meet with Hareshwar Singh. So first of all, I will immediately say, yes, Hareshwar Singh, I have met you on Zoom meeting and all that. Personally, we have not met, but on Zoom meeting, I know what Hareshwar Singh is. So that record is to be essentially there. If it is not, then there cannot be any further movement. So can we get rid of this image? Yes, we can be free of this image. We know the structure of image and we cannot know the depth, what the image, structure of image is, and that's why we can be free of this image. But getting rid of image, that is to be seen. Thank you.
शक्ति जी,
हाँ जी, मुझे बस थोड़ी सी बात करनी है। दिनेश जी, मैं आपकी
जी।
बात काट नहीं रहा हूँ, लेकिन जो पतंजलि हैं उन्होंने ईश्वर वो ले आए हैं सांख्य में, उन्होंने ईश्वर प्रणिधान की बात की है, बल्कि ईश्वर की उन्होंने एक सूत्र में परिभाषा भी की है। ये सही है कि उनका ईश्वर न्याय दर्शन के ईश्वर से बहुत अलग है, लेकिन उनका वो निरीश्वर नहीं है। जो ईश्वर कृष्ण की सांख्य कारिका है उसमें निरीश्वर है, निरीश्वर सांख्य, पतंजलि उसमें ईश्वर को ले। ये मंच नहीं है उस चीज का, लेकिन ये मैं सिर्फ निवेदन करना चाह रहा हूँ। थैंक यू सर।
सर, मैं भी एक निवेदन करना चाह रहा था।
प्रदीप वर्मा जी एंड देन वाघमारे। प्रदीप वर्मा जी एंड देन वाघमारे।
Hear me, sir?
yes,
Can you?
yes, sir.
Yeah. So, like others who have given different views about image-free consciousness, I too am tangled in this question of image-free consciousness, because consciousness is its content. Content in what form? Content and why? And another, if you see the nature of consciousness, why it gets filled, so much attachment. You see, in our psychosomatic composition, can we distinctly see the transition of soma to psyche? If we see the dynamic of our mind, we know it is much faster than the soma. Then emptiness, when we were talking, they were talking about physics and traditions also. Shankaracharya long back said, as I have read, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, emptiness. Then reality, latest, what this Carlo Rovelli said, reality is not what it seems. Everything is quantized, even space. So, first thing is image-free consciousness. I asked this question once in these debates. Then Krishnaji, Professor Krishna, answered it that it is awareness. Below that, before it is filled. But my question is, when the conscious nature of consciousness, why it gets filled? First thing. Then, whose consciousness? What is fresh look? Then purest form of love. How can we talk like this in superlatives? Purest form of love. And are these not thoughts coming and delivered to minds? These are, to me, I have read all these things. I can repeat it also. But somehow inside me, these questions remain. These questions remain. Then one can say this is intellect. You see, there are answers to all my questions. You can say it is intellect, it is mind-based, it is thought-based, but we are in that sphere. We all are talking in that sphere also and trying to get, of course, attachment. When you say attachment, I can understand. If I am attached to more than to things more than I can afford, then naturally there is a tension in my psyche. There will be problem. There is attachment. One can see very easily. Attachment does create problems because that space is being filled with something. Always in all my present moments are filled already, and they don't get that freshness. So this I can understand, but all these questions are still there. I am not quoting anyone. I am telling my own again is a very loaded word, my and own and all those things. But still, I have to say that these questions remain there. That's why we go on repeating. We go on repeating emptiness. Either we don't understand it fully, or we are enjoying it in all our debates. The moment certain things we enjoy time and again and again. So this repeatability, are we enjoying it? I don't know, because all these are questions in my mind. Thank you very much. I am an ignorant person that way.
Thank you, Verma ji. Chidanandji, would you please make a last comment? Chidanandji, please. Few words from you.
Yeah. In these discussions, all of us have been using many words, and sometimes we may use words with a sense of we know it quite well, we know what we are talking, but the matter is such, this matter is such that we many times don't know exactly what the words mean. We have a certain feeling. With that feeling, we are okay to go on speaking. So it's very fascinating that our understanding of many of these words uh, grows, gets better and better. If maybe it is like seeing a precious gem, a diamond or something, as you examine it from different angles of view, you appreciate it more. So words like attachment, words like image, and words like awareness. In one sense, we are very familiar with these words. In another sense, we really cannot claim to have had the last word on them. Therefore, Pradeep ji very nicely said that there are certain things we love to talk about again and again and again. I could not but smile at looking at the truth of it. It is true. We keep biting, we keep chewing, we keep, what is that called, mastication. These cows, take some grass. And I am told that I have not studied animals so much. They even sometimes swallow, but they are able to bring it back to the mouth. And then again chew some more and so on. But I would conclude my comments with an optimistic note that kind of revisiting certain words or certain expressions, certain remarks by great mystics like Krishnaji is not in vain. It is revisiting and getting into a discussion second, third, fourth, or the 20th time is not in vain. You never know when some new light comes up in the discussion. There is an expression in old tradition, we must be ready to learn baladapi, shukadapi. We must be ready to learn even from a child. We may be in our 70s and here comes a 15-year-old girl who says something. Baladapi. And even from a parrot, I believe we should be ready to learn. Therefore, I would add, even from indoor discussion group, we should be able to we should be ready to learn. Baladapi, Shukadapi, Indor Grupadapi. So what's important is, though we have been reading books, listening to lectures and giving talks, etc., what is important, let me sum up, is let's have an open mind. Let's look at what people have to share in these discussions with a certain freshness, as though we don't know anything at all. That may help a lot. Thank you.
Anand sir, please unmute and say.
Yes, sir. I mean, can I put this question to Swamiji?
Please do.
Sir, you said, I mean, it took some time for you to understand Krishnamurti. Initially, you had a problem to understand what all he's saying, and later you said you have understood. Now the question is, Krishnamurti says, sir, don't try and understand me, try to understand yourself. All right. And he says, there's nobody, I mean, before he passed, he said, there's nobody on earth who has understood him. He said, it's beyond you to understand me. That's what he said. And I find in a lot of these groups, Krishnamurti groups, people, they say that they have understood Krishnamurti and they're also enlightened. They say they're partly enlightened. I don't know what they mean by partly enlightened. And I want to know, what do you mean by enlightenment? And again, Krishnamurti says you need to go beyond words. And I'm always with words. I'm trying to understand through words. He says, word is not the thing. Description is not the described. But I'm always caught in words. I'm always caught in the description. I always say I've understood Krishnamurti. I always say I'm partly enlightened. And I'm back to where I am with all the whatever is happening. And again, enlightenment, people think there's going to be only joy and ecstasy. Okay, they'll have no problem. Krishnamurti went through lots of problems. Krishnamurti had lots of problems. He said, don't make it psychological. When his brother died, he had to go through it. He did feel for him. He did miss him. When he remained with it, he has an understanding of it. And probably when somebody says somebody is dying, he says, part of me is going with you. Is with you. Don't get whatever. You don't worry. Part of me is with you. Maybe that is what when his brother died, probably he says, I'm there with you. I don't know. I don't know what he meant by that also, but I'm just saying what I've read. Okay. So these are the things. I say I've understood Krishnamurti, and I say I'm also partly enlightened, and I'm caught only in words. I only speak in words, and I don't go beyond words. I don't know what it is to remain with those words, what he's saying. The minute I read, there's an interpretation of it, and I don't even see that. And Krishnamurti says to have understanding, there must be sensitivity. A lot of people talk about freedom. Without sensitivity, there's no freedom. Without responsibility, there's no freedom. I'm a sensitive human being is a question. I'm a responsible, not human being, sir. I'm a sensitive being because I call myself human, which I'm trying to, that's out of my ego. Every action of mine is worse than, it's so much of violence is involved in me. I'm not at all human. I enjoy killing. So, so that's what it is. I wouldn't want to call myself human. I would say I'm a being. So how do I look at all this stuff? In fact, the last one I forgot when I was saying human being. Yeah, I'm not sensitive being. I'm not a responsible being. Responsibility is not just to only my family, which is a very petty little thing. Not only my community, it's a very petty thing. It's not only my state or a country. And in fact, these are the reasons for the violence which is taking place out there. When I say I'm responsible only for my family, you see what is happening. Every person is saying that. He says responsible for my community. You see what is happening. So much of clashes, so much of killing, so much of violence. And I don't understand people who say they're enlightened. They don't seem to understand this is what I'm quite shocked at. That's about all, sir.
Thank you. Since you began saying you wanted to ask me, let me.
Yeah.
Pardon? Let me say just a few words.
Last 3 or 4 minutes to you, Chidanandji, please.
Yeah. It's not so rigid. I can go up to 7:18 or so because I have an online engagement at 7:30. So, okay. So, thank you for making those remarks because it is true that it's a certain audacity on our part to say we have understood Krishnamurti. And I fully see the value of those statements that Krishnamurti did not want us to understand him, rather he wanted us to understand ourselves, the self in us and so on. However, what emboldens some of us to speak on topics and express ourselves before groups of people like this one is, there was a time when we had misunderstood, when we had certain idea about what Krishnamurti stood for, which was grossly wrong. We mistook him as simply interested in pulling down every statue, breaking every idol, and so on. We thought he was anti any system, as though it was all negative. So we have come a long way from that perspective. There was a time where I confessed in my words before that my mind only, went defensive about probably some Hindu thoughts or Vedanta thoughts and so on. So there has been a certain movement. We have let go of those unwarranted defenses. And take, for example, I had no idea. I didn't have the foggiest idea about what this choiceless awareness was. I had no clarity about the distinction between psychological memory and functional memory. I had no clarity about what he meant by attention, what he meant by watching. I thought watching, what is there if you watch a flower for 1 hour, what are you going to get? I had said in one of my lectures long ago. Later I understood, to a great extent. But let me conclude my words saying, yeah, we don't claim to have understood fully, but we have let go of certain gross misunderstanding. We had misplaced him. Some of us, like me, had had a very wrong picture of him in olden days. Now I can't claim to have fully understood him, but I find it very significant. A lot of his statements, a lot of his remarks seem to apply, seem to just throw light on what we are going through. Lastly, I should also say that during a dialogue like this, I may speak with great confidence and may say many things. But you never know, after another hour in my privacy, I might go to another state of mind where I may feel, "Oh, why did I speak so much? I don't know anything about life. I better shut my mouth. Here onward, this Jain has no business than to call me. I'm not going to say yes to him." That kind of state of mind also happens. So really, life is a big puzzle. Life is a great conundrum, and we don't know whether we know or we do not know, whether we love or we do not love. However, there's some beauty about this quest itself, and it's nice to join people like all of you for a little while and share thoughts. We really don't know where we stand. It's so difficult to figure out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chidanandji. And goodbye to you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me go. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah. Waghmare, Dinesh Waghmare, it is your turn.
जी
Waghmare,
सर, शक्ति सर जी, शक्ति कुमार जी का जो प्रश्न था, शक्ति कुमार जी का जो कमेंट था, उसको जवाब देना चाह रहा था। अगर आप योग सूत्र देखेंगे तो उसमें कर्म विपाकाश है, अपरामृष्ट पुरुष विशेष ईश्वर, ये बात कही गई है। मतलब उन्होंने जो ईश्वर डिफाइन किया है वो अलग है। इवन सांख्य का जो पुरुष है उसके भी बियॉन्ड की वो बात कर रहे हैं। तो बेसिक जो डेफिनेशन उन्होंने दी हुई है वो निर्गुण की दी हुई है, और चूंकि कुछ आधार चाहिए इसलिए वो आगे बात कर रहे हैं तस्य वाचा का परिणाम वगैरह वगैरह करके, और धारणा ध्यान समाधि में जा रहे हैं। तो ओरिजिनल जो डेफिनेशन है वो बियॉन्ड की है सर। इतना ही निवेदन था मेरा। नमस्कार।
Thank you very much. Pradeep ji, please.
Yes,
Please
yes,
unmute.
yes. I was listening to Swami ji, काफी intently सुन रहा था मैं उनको। तो उन्होंने कहा understanding grows over a period of time. हालांकि what JK was always talking of instantaneously, it happens, understanding or whatever insight, this is all, he never appreciated giving time in between. Procrastination, something will happen, keep trying to understand him. JK, it is another, just like a mantra. We were, you see, so this approach, trying to understand JK, the approach itself is questionable. You see, even if when I am reading, I am myself, because I know I am reading. Why am I reading? I must know myself first, and then the words of so-called JK. That becomes my own after some time. So we have to be really attentive and careful about these things when we introduce time suddenly in between. So this is all I wanted to say. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.
Anandji. Anandji first and then Parekh sir. Here is the question. What is understanding?
Yes, sir. I mean, when we are talking about Krishnamurti, when we say, in fact, Mr. Pradeep Verma, when he said I wanted to ask a question, and when I thought I was unmuted, tried to unmute and all, I've forgotten what it was, sir. So, Mr. Pradeep, what was your last this one, sir? What was your last this one you said?
Even I have forgotten that.
That is the beauty of the present, sir.
There is no question.
That is the beauty of the present. Everything of the past has gone away.
That's right.
Everything what is not related to thing, it is gone.
I mean, the point, sir.
I very much appreciated Anand's comment that why do you want to understand JK? That is a fact. So that is what I was telling. I was appreciating your point of view. All through we are trying to understand someone else. But who is understanding and why he is understanding what has happened to me, why I am sitting here and sitting for long sessions everywhere for the last 20 years. So I have to know myself first, definitely. That is true. That is true. There is no question about. But because understanding grows over time, so keep listening to what he is saying, keep listening to what he is saying. Sometimes this may happen, or the insight will come out of listening to him. All these things are, these questions came to me.
My question is, sir, my question is, why do I want to understand, or why do I want to read K? Why do I want to remain with those words? What is the reason for it, I mean, is it bothering me so much? My life is full of misery. I'm troubled by so much. Okay. Is it so? I feel sorry for what is happening out there. The animals which are being killed, people who are being killed, women, being raped, and children dying of hunger, all that. Do I really think about all those things? And I'm against it all. I don't know what to do. Or it's just that, we meet once in a while, and just, we have intellectual discussions to say, I know better, or you know better, or whatever it is, I understand, you don't understand. That is that what is happening? Is what one has to look into it. Am I really serious? To be serious, again, I have to be sensitive. What is happening out there in the world? What is happening with children, with women? People are being killed. Every day, as I'm talking to you, people are being killed. Every minute, I think a woman is being raped or something like that. The statistics, it's there. So does that really worry me? What's happening to the planet? What's happening to the world? What is happening to humanity and the whole life itself? Is that my concern? That is what is. If it is not, then am I really, whatever I'm doing, is it just does it got any use, or just a waste of time? Is what I seriously want to look at it, sir. Thank you.
Harshad sir, please.
Yeah. Yes, Krishnamurti uses many words in many different ways. He's trying to say something about what is happening in the world and what is happening within us. Now, those words, how we read or listen is very important. And through those words, when we begin to see our own mind, how it works, And if there is some clarity comes, then those words are beautiful, because those words of Krishnamurti, I feel that they are coming from silent clarity. And such words, when some people who are very sensitive and they are very attentively reading or listening without trying to interpret Krishnamurti, and they are beginning to see their own self, their own problems. And when that seeing is real seeing, not intellectual seeing, then many of those questions which keep on arising within our mind when we ask questions to other people, it will die away. And then we will be just looking even at the question arising. My own question, can I look at in silence? And if it is not there, that's curiosity, silence, to look at my own question. And I feel the question comes because there is some kind of disturbance, or a person has not understood and want to understand. But when there is a seeing, there is just seeing. And even if a question arises, that question is seen. And if there is an answer comes from within, that answer is seen, and everything is moving. So it is living moment by moment, looking inward, not thinking, analyzing Krishnamurti, but understanding our own life, our own problems, our relationship with people around, with environment, and our responsibility, all that is involved. So many of the things Anandji talks about the world and people dying. People are dying, there is a war because people have not understood their mind. Like the leaders, they have ambition. They want to become somebody, and they want to extend the boundary of their little land, which they have, which they call their land. So because of this ignorance about what Krishnamurti is talking about, our own mind, when there's ignorance, it creates all the problems, violence and killing animals, killing human beings. And if we get disturbed by what is happening, then we can't really see clearly. So we have to understand and know that there is violence has been there in humanity from the time of Buddha. Even Devdatta, who was a cousin of Buddha, wanted to kill Buddha, and he was a monk, Devdatta. So even that jealousy, ambition exists in the mind of religious people who call themselves religious monk. So freedom is only one has to find out for oneself, not ask other people whether you are free or not. And even if some person says he is free, what does it doesn't make any change in my life, whether Krishnamurti is free or not. But what he has said is beautiful, and it helped me looking at my own mind, and it made life very enjoyable, and it changed the direction of my life. So I would say the words which come from silent clarity, they are very, very useful. All the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, it helps some people. It may not help Krishnamurti or people who are very much attracted to Krishnamurti. They will not even read Krishnamurti or Ashtavakra or Upanishads. But it depends on how you read, what the word really means to you in your daily life. So I have said many things. So I would say the words which come from silent clarity, they are very useful to some people who are sensitive, and they can really look. And through words, one can go into non-verbal dimension too. So words have the power to create a non-verbal state. And this I consider to be, from my own way, it is true that some words can create non-verbal state of looking. Okay, I have finished.
No
So,
words
but when
from silence. Words from Shakti, we'll end it now. Words from Shakti. Shakti ji, please come forward.
Yes, sir. Anandji raised this question of trying to understand Krishnamurti. I can say, you see, to understand oneself is a very different trajectory, because I see that I'm on Wednesday I'm somebody else, and on Saturday I'm somebody else. So it's like a cloud changing the shape. Why I wish I really want to understand what Krishnamurti is saying. I want to understand it intellectually, that because there is a ring of truth in it, and I see that I'm missing something. There are certain missing links. So that is the reason. It's fascinating, but it's, there is something missing in the understanding. That's why to these meetings also I come, because it's something so vast, and I feel that there is something which is not here. I'm not understanding it even intellectually in a complete way. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shakti ji. And with these words of Shakti ji, please end it. Modak, please end it. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
every
everyone. Thank
participant.
you, everybody.
Thanks all participants and speakers.
Thank